I thought that I would just come in and have a quick chat and say a few things that have been on my mind today. Before I go any further, if any of you are noticing this nasty thing in my eye, it's just a burst blood vessel and it doesn't hurt. I just woke up with it last week, but it doesn't look the best. Anyway, I was walking around the fields this morning that were full of flooding and whatnot, and listening to a podcast, which is what I often do if I'm walking by myself. And I started to think about whether we tend to blame our hormones for feelings of loneliness, isolation, and lack of community, which could actually manifest as depression, anxiety, not sleeping, frustration, and general kind of lack of motivation, and just kind of not having much get up and go for life, because I think, let's face it, we often blame our hormones for all sorts of things. And I know that for me, at the end of last year, I sat down to kind of review what I'd been up to, and I was aware that I basically had just worked very hard and hadn't allowed a whole lot of time for socialising, because my diary was so full with clients or looking after my son or trying to have one evening a week with my partner that I just didn't really have time. I have time, but it's in the day, or it's, at weekends, or I've got my son, so I'm around, but I can't go out. And so I had also last March cancelled my gym membership, and I've really underestimated what a difference that made to me, because what it meant was that I wasn't going out 3 times a week, and I wasn't having the kind of banter and the fun that I was having with the group of friends that I'd made there. And all of these little things kind of add up. So by the time I got to the end of the year, I was having quite a lot of moments of just feeling a bit lonely, a bit frustrated, a bit like this is all just a massive slog. Why am I doing this? And I know it's not the work, because I love my work and I feel passionate about sharing stuff, and I will continue to obviously do that. But I was feeling like I just wasn't having enough kind of contact with other people who are in the same boat, other women who, get what we're going through. I'm sure probably quite a few of you in this group might be self-employed. That's a whole other ball game and brings its own stress and strain. And I was listening to a podcast by Dr. Rangan Chatterjee recently, who wrote the 4-pillar plan, and he's that GP that tries to prescribe natural lifestyle changes to people, and he filmed the Doctor in the House series. So he was interviewing someone whose name escapes me, but it was to do with depression, and this guy was saying that he personally had been on antidepressants for 13 years because it wasn't really helping him, and every time he went back to the GP and said, I still don't feel any better, they would say, right, we're going to up your dose, or we're going to try you on a different one, and everything kept going up and up and up. And there have been so many studies into how when people feel a sense of community or they do something in a group, that they mentally and emotionally get absolutely boosted and lifted. And so I think that was really my point, that I work with quite a few women whose kids have just left home and they've gone away to uni, and they're finding that transition really difficult because suddenly they're not having that interaction with their child, or maybe they've got a husband who works away and who they don't see all that often, or perhaps they've their friendship group's diminished a bit. And I think one of the problems is that when you start to feel a bit down and low, then you isolate yourself further because you don't feel like getting together with other people and going out. So I had another client recently whose dog had died, and it was amazing when we actually identified the ripple effect that this had caused in her social life, which was that she no longer was going for a walk with the friends that she used to see, so that sort of social side had been cut out. She wasn't waving to the neighbour as she passed her window every day. She wasn't getting the endorphins from the exercise and the fresh air and the vitamin D from the sunshine. And so by the time she came to see me, she was really feeling pretty low, as on top of the grief that she was feeling about having lost her dog. So I just want to ask you, if you are feeling lonely, isolated, a bit low, anxious or depressed, just try and take a bit of an overview. I mean, I obviously have no idea what's going on in your life. There might be very good reason for you to feel all of those things, but before you blame it on your hormones, or it's just this stage of life, have a look at what you actually do in the course of a day, and see whether you might be surrounded by people all the time, whether that's colleagues or family, or busy ferrying children to and fro, but you might actually be lacking meaningful connection with people in your life. And if that's the case, then what do you think that you might be able to do about it? So I know for myself, I started in January going to a choir in West Bridgford, and I absolutely love it because there's usually over 100 people at these rehearsals, and everyone is so friendly. And for me, it's just become something that I can do. You don't have to be good at singing. There's no audition. There's no sheet music to read. It's just lyrics. It's modern songs that most of us know. And for those 2 hours every fortnight, I just feel like I'm in a place where I just enjoy it, and I just soak up the atmosphere, and I enjoy meeting new people, and I don't think about all the things that make me feel guilty, like I should be working, or I should be exercising, or I should be with my son, or I should be doing whatever it is. So I'd like to introduce a few more things into my weekly routine, one of them being to get back into some sort of regular form of exercise, because I think that is really key for me, and I've let it slide. And so I'm now sort of noticeably feeling the effects of not getting out there a few times a week. I've recently been setting up some collaborations with other people, so I'll be doing some live talking to a lady about grief. I've got another one with an HR expert who's going to be talking about handling menopause in the workplace. My course is covering things around relationships, around toxins, gut health, what exactly the hormones are and what they're doing. So if you're interested to know more, please drop me a line, and I can give you a bit more info about that. Anyway, I hope that you're all having a great week wherever you are.